Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 23rd day of April, 2020. Well, we had an exciting 22 gateway open yesterday. Yay! Some profound change. On a sad note, I just heard that on the news here before I started this, that Elizabeth Warren's brother died, older brother died of COVID. Apparently, like all COVID patients, they die alone. I mean, hospital staff might be there, but there's no family or friends by their side when they pass, or even there to be told. I mean, you can't go in. So this is going to touch a lot of us. And, if you haven't called home in a while, do so. If you haven't called your parents in a while, do so. It's easy to get caught up in the goings-on of the day right now because we're, just trying to get through it. We're not having as difficult a time because we've been home for a while. We've been retired. So those of us that are kind of accustomed to doing this way, we're home anyway. So it's not that big of a change, other than there's some fear, obviously, over the fact that people in our town don't seem to be following social distancing guidelines or protection or anything. So it's a weird thing to be out. And so we're trying not to go out much. But, you have to. And it's just really scary to go to places. We're rebuilding our tractor and we have to drop things off places. And we're trying to figure out the best way to do that. But the people that we're doing business with are acting like nothing has changed. Nobody's in gloves. Nobody's observing social distancing. Nobody's in a mask. And it's really unnerving, I have to say, knowing how contagious this is, knowing how people die so quickly from it. I don't know. I just think that if we can't understand the simple truth of this, then at least some of us have truly lost their way, and it's going to affect the rest of us. I mean, it just will. So protect yourself from people that don't get it. I mean, don't understand. And I don't know. You're going to have to do that. And likely for the foreseeable futures, because we don't know how this is going to progress. It likely will lessen somewhat in the summer, like viruses tend to do, but we don't know. It's going to come back in the fall. And we have to be ready for that when it does. So figure it out now. Make your plans for the winter, because you're going to have to. And to our boys, please call home. We need to hear from you. I know you're busy, but we need to hear from you. So please call us. Let's see. I did the astrology for 8 o'clock. I've been up for a little while. I've been up since 7. So I went ahead and did it for now, because I think it's 8:02 right now. Juno's going to be leaving Juno's not going to be leaving retrograde shortly. That's actually coming. It's going to be there for a little while longer. I don't know if it's a month longer or what it is. I'll have to look again. I had it in my head, but I don't remember. I looked yesterday. Pluto, though, is going to go retrograde in a couple of days. Pluto's a really transformative planet, and when it goes retrograde, it doesn't really change that. It just might intensify a little bit. Some things may really be coming into focus, into clarity. Retrograde makes you look at things. And so, situations could arise that are difficult or that maybe aren't difficult, but maybe, I don't know, bring a level of emotion or empathy that gets you to understand the bigger picture of things. So that's coming. I don't know if it's the 25th or 26th when it goes retrograde, but just in a couple of more days. Yesterday, of course, the gateway opened, the 4/22/22 gateway opened. And I realize that happens on a day, but it opens. So energies of support are there for the already 22 year to make some profound changes in our lives. I say with respect to our relationships with others. That's what I think the 22 is really about, the foundational structure of our relationships with each other. Because the rest of it is, everything else is just filler. It's just an illusion that we live in order to gain experience, soul-wise when we're here, in whatever particular incarnation we're in. So this, I think, is just profoundly restructuring who we are to one another, realigning us with the soul message and the soul collective that we're all part of. Because when we're not in the bodies, we're all one. So I don't know why we get confused here, but we do. Much of what was in the 6th house yesterday has either moved to the 9th or from the 9th to the 11th, but things are kind of shifting this way. There's stuff all the way from the 8th all the way then into the 1st. But I think that most of the overall message is reflection, self-reflection, reflection with respect to spiritual values, maybe taking a different approach going forward than what you had before. Again, understanding the message of the 22 and dropping resistance to one another and no more standoffs with nurses, biker looking dudes. Don't do that anymore. That, it makes the man look really, really small, to stand there like that. It's intimidating. It was meant to be intimidating. And he can't say it wasn't. Oh, he can, but he's a liar if he does. So, I mean, it's time for people to see what's true now. That's the funny thing about a pandemic. It will do that to a culture, to a society, where you're going to have maybe people in chaos for a little while, but eventually when people start dying and they're dying close to them, then loved ones are dying, and pretty soon they wake up. And maybe it's not too late, maybe it is too late, I don't know. I think we're going to see going forward, though, people that want to ignore this, they do so at their own peril and at the peril of anyone near them. So why go forward in arrogance? I've never understood that. Let's see. The moon's in the 12th house Aries. We had rain, thank goodness, yesterday, but, I still stuck my head out and instantly the juniper's going crazy with the pollen right now. But I stuck my head outside to look for my husband. I thought I saw him walk by and I thought I could catch him before he did, but I shouldn't have because now I'm all congested from it. So anyway, moon 12th house Aries, take time to retreat. Anything 12th house is about reflection and rest and the end of the matter and all of that. But in Aries, you're still going to want to be focusing on doing things, but just focus on existing projects. Don't start anything new right now. Sun, 12th house Taurus, again, 12th house activity, take a personal day. Attend to any issues that, need dealing with and reflect on any important matters. Let's see, conjunct or Uranus between that and the sun, still positive time for something to either change for the better, or maybe it's that we're finding it easier to live within limits. But again, pay attention to the fall, because with an eye to the fall, because it's going to come back. And we're going to be dealing with it again in varying degrees. So some are saying it could be worse than the fall. I don't know why that is. Maybe it just has gotten a better foothold on things and developed its own ideology enough, maybe, and has gotten stronger. I don't know why. Maybe someone has said, but I don't know why that happens, but apparently it does. Not that it for sure will, but the epidemiologists, I guess, are reasonably certain of it, if past is prologue, I guess. Sextile both the north and trine the south node of the moon. So sextile the north and trine the south. Something new might be on the horizon right now. Mercury 11th house Aries, you're going to want to expand learning and knowledge and network that with others. So if you've got any cool life hacks, either post them or online or if you're in a group or something of folks you're talking to, be sure to share all that with people, how you're getting through. Let's see, Venus first house Gemini, present your best foot forward today inside your house. I don't know. Uh, let's see. Mars 10th house Aquarius. We're going to think outside the box today. That's Aquarius regarding your life direction or career path. That's the 10th house. You know, it's trying to do a home office when you're not used to doing a home office and you got kids home. You know, that's it's going to be hard. You know, kids are going to have to. They're excited that they're home. They're excited mom and dad are home. You know, whatever. But at the same time, they have to understand that work still has to get done, and it can't simply happen in the middle of the night when they're asleep. It's gotta happen during business hours, right? So, well, usually. Moving on though to Saturn, that's in ninth house Aquarius too. In conjunct the North Node, you might be forced to change your life's direction now, or the perception surrounding it may change. This is where a lot of ninth house activity is going to come into play because we're spiritual there, okay? And spiritual issues are coming into play. You might start to be thinking, am I really happy doing the kind of work that I'm doing? Am I happy doing it in the way that I'm doing? What about when you sit and you watch the harshness and the cruelty that's going on? Apparently, the Las Vegas mayor has decided to open things up, and it's on each business owner to figure it out. No leadership, nothing. It's like, what is government for then? If it's not to lead in the time of a crisis, what's government for? We don't need the federal government. We don't need certain, and Las Vegas certainly doesn't need that mayor. People look to the government when bad things happen. If the government fails them, then we don't need that government, right? You see, that's what they don't understand, or at least the people in it. So November's coming, and changes will happen. That's clear. You can't live in a world where your leaders don't care if you live or die. And that's where we're living right now. He doesn't care if we live or die. So otherwise he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. He wouldn't be taking not my fault, not my problem. I didn't tell Larry, or I didn't tell Governor Kemp to open. He's doing it. I advised against it. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He's lying. And that's what he does. Gets on the hot seat, gets confronted, he lies. Even when he's not confronted, he lies. So you can't ever believe the guy. And when he says, oh, yes, we're getting all this out, and then why do they need that? Why do they need that? There's something wrong up here. No matter what it is, whether it's, all the alleged stuff you're hearing about, and there's a lot of stuff you're hearing about. A lot of stuff's being alleged right now about his mental state. And folks, it's been that way since he got there. This isn't anything new. It's just the stress of this is making it worse and devolve even further. And it isn't going to get better. That's the problem with stuff like what they're alleging. If all of that's true, or even one of it, this is progressive. It's not going to get better. He isn't going to get well, in other words. It's one of those kind of situations where the patient does not get well. They don't improve. They only get worse. So, you don't make decisions like this in a pandemic. And yet that's what's happening. So I would suggest that you work with the ninth house energy, going forward here, and start reevaluating things, what you're doing, how you think about things, what your perceptions are, and make sure that it aligns with the truth. And don't buy into the whole fake news nonsense. That's just ridiculous. So let's see. Neptune's the same way. Pluto, ninth house Capricorn, Neptune, 11th house Pisces. Pisces is meaning spiritual focus. 11th house is relationships. But Pluto, ninth house Capricorn, you're going to, again, going retro in a couple of days. So transformative power is very strong right now. And I would definitely be looking for higher meaning within all of this, gaining a higher perspective, understanding what's really happening, in other words. Whether it's, at least if it's not a spiritual focus, make sure you understand what the truth is. Don't buy into the deception. We still have Uranus semi-square Neptune, although weak influence right now, weak aspect right now, we're still guarding against deception and the long-played con. And it's in effect. As long as the guy in the Oval Office and all of his people are there, we're being conned. It's as simple as that. And when you understand who he actually works for, oh boy. This is such a mess, folks. It's a mess. There's stuff coming out that judge may release that whole Mueller report to everybody soon. He's looking at it. So, because it's pretty clear that, Barr wasn't honest with us. So, but then we knew that back then. So we may get the whole thing, and then you're going to see just exactly who he works for. Hint, it isn't the United States of America. Okay? It's not. So, anyhow, I mean, we're looking at all of this in terms of the 11th house, also reevaluating that, our friendships and relationships. So I just think that we're in a weird place right now, and we need to figure it out. Hold your loved ones as virtually close as you possibly can. If you're in the same house with them, be sure that you're extra kind to them through this, because we just don't know what's coming. So in any event, let's go ahead and get started with the cards. If this is your first time here, welcome. I do the astrology first and talk a little bit about that. And then we try to relate the cards and the runes back to the astrology, just sort of integrate everything all together. I think that, we're basically talking about energy when we do divinations. And it doesn't matter, what tool we use, whether we're using a pendulum or runes or the cards or whatever you're using, you're basically, or if you're a root worker and you're throwing, roots and bones and whatnot on your mat and trying to figure out what the heck they all mean, it's all energy that we're working with, and trying to figure out where that energy is dovetailing and how we might interpret that. So I'm going to take our first three cards. I'm going to take, for randomness sake, the 13th one each time. If we need more, we'll add. But we're going to take a look at the first three after I lay them down. And then when we're done, we're going to take a rune from the Elder Futhark, and then we'll close out with a geomancy rune. So let's get going. Been getting a lot of major arcana cards lately. Oh, the Six of Swords. A journey over water, which is a simplified explanation for it in the winter time. But basically, we've going in a new direction now. It's a change in perspective, really. Swords is the air element. You could be going to a new job or something like that, or you're going to a new life. Actually, you could say with all of the reconsidering of life's path, we'll relate it to that. How about that? A new pathway is opening, but that's based on perception, because swords is the air element, reflects the air element and our intellect and reason and balance and all of that. So we're talking perception, change in perception, and it's much needed, because if you've been on the wrong side of this here, on the fake news side of it, well, you need to come on to the side of the truth now. We don't have any time left. The lunatics are trying to make us all go out before we're ready and before we're comfortable. Fortunately, the majority of the country is not in lockstep with that. I see polls, and poll numbers are saying that it's not. So here we have the Ten of Wands. Carrying a heavy burden, or perhaps we're going forward in a different direction again. That does tend to align with the Six of Swords. Not so much shared purpose, but at the same time, we're talking, again, the 10, so we're talking new beginnings. And so there is the same feeling of something new here with the 10 of Wands as well as the Six of Swords. Let's do another card. So far, no majors today, though. And no king in the court card to, well, we got the Queen of Cups at least. Power of reflection. Probably having to do with the 12th house right now. I'm going to put her in the center. We'll make her the significator for the reading. And then we'll see if we need any more cards. I don't know. We'll see. Mostly, this is about reflecting on where we are right now. And we need to stay in truth. Ignore the president. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's not fake news to suggest that he hasn't handled this properly. Everyone knows he hasn't. Get on board with that because it's going to be important going forward. Remain in the truth here going forward. Get out of the lie. Get out of the fantasy, because that's what it is. Do not listen to the press conferences or whatever you want to call those things. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to anything this man tweets. Ignore all of it. There's something wrong here. And he can't function right. He's not making the right decisions. And neither are the people that are the governors and the mayors who are listening to him either. So here we're going to reflect. We see the queen at the water's edge. Her cape almost merges into the rocks below, doesn't it? I love that about this queen. She really is the watery part of, I don't know, water, but she really it represents the power of reflection. She's holding that beautiful ornate chalice in her hands, signifying the water element in our emotions, empathy, intuition. Although intuition can also relate to elemental fire. That can also be about intuition and creativity and all of that. But it can also be extrapolated to water as well. We see the little cherubs above, and also down below. There'll be one on the other side as well, even though we can't see it. She's right at the water's edge, just imbued in compassion and emotion and in reflection over what's going on in life. You know, she's a woman in authority, obviously, but she's not like the king. She hopefully can guide the king if he'll listen, but without her, he's out of control. You can't trust the king to do the right thing. It's like the empress and the emperor in the major arcana. Without the empress's softening or guidance or perspective, the king, or the emperor rather, tends to run amok, expressing only authoritarianism in his life versus having some balance of being a leader, but also being compassionate. So if we're spending our time reflecting on what the truth is, and if we decide at this point, hopefully we decide at this point, that if we've been believing the message of the strange man in the Oval Office, that we've been conned and what he's presenting does not reflect the truth. You notice he's not discussing the hydroxychloroquine anymore. Now that we know that people are dying from it, or likely dying from it, or it's contributing to their death, it's not helping them. It was never going to help anybody. But Fox News did it, pumped that, just promoted that thing constantly, hourly. How many people have died from it? This is what's going to happen, you see. I think they're already beginning to lawyer up over there, I read. And they should, because people are going to sue them. And they should. Maybe they should be sued out of oblivion. Maybe the guy in the Oval Office should be sued for this. I mean, that's usually what happens, right? Wrongful death. Right. But you see, it gets real murky when there's a virus involved, doesn't it? So maybe the courts can't really say for sure, oh, was it that? Maybe not. Maybe would have died anyway. So you see, they do this and they think they're safe. Well, I'll bet they're not. I'll bet they're not. Because now we're going to go forward in shared purpose. We're going to change our perceptions. And we're going to understand that if we don't stay on the same track with one another, we're not going to defeat this virus. If we don't stay unified, we're going to complicate the situation and create little pockets of outbreak where we don't need them. Here's the thing. If we all just would have stayed in beginning in February, we'd be done by now. But he couldn't stop golfing and complaining about the Democrats and ignoring the pandemic and believing China, selling us all out, in the process. But now, with the 6, we're talking shared purpose. We're talking higher self coming in with a new level of awareness, a new perception, understanding that what it actually looks like. It's like, okay, listen. Years ago, when Maya Angelou was alive, she told Oprah, anyway, I don't know how I know this, but she told Oprah, oh, I think I saw the show. That's how I know. I actually saw the show that day because I love her, right? So she tells Oprah, because Oprah, like me, like many of us, sometimes has to do something a few times that doesn't make any sense before she gets it. She doesn't want to believe necessarily that someone is a bad person, only maybe just a little confused, and with a little more information, maybe it'll be okay, right? We all try to maybe rationalize that with folks. But what she said, what Maya Angelou said, is when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't waste any more time. Believe them. Now, I realize that could be risky if you jump to conclusions and you're absolutely sure they've told you who they are. I can understand where that might be tenuous ground for some people, but for most of us, we know. Wake up. We know who this guy is. We have to go forward now in shared purpose. Now it's wintertime, and so, mom and the child here, assuming this is a young family, they're huddled against the wind and the cold and all of that, but they're together. You see what I'm saying? We move forward in shared purpose and in collective unity with one another. We're going to accomplish more than if we're resisting this and that and calling this thing the deep state, and this thing, this little odd phrase that he uses as a call to arms or call to this or call to action. No, it's not. It's the ravings of a madman. I mean, come on, wake up. Wake up. With that change in perception, you see that line of demarcation between where he's standing right now and where perhaps his home is. Then you look at the wands, and it's almost like he's rebuilding, taking that fire energy and rebuilding his life. We don't know where we're all going to be. We don't know how many of us are going to be left. We don't know how many homes and families are going to be impacted by this. We don't know how many will lose loved ones that are significant, particularly in terms of their income. If a parent dies, a spouse dies, that's part of your income gone. Maybe it's all of your income gone. What do you do then? Well, we have to rebuild. And having all 10 there, we might be carrying a heavy burden, but we can do that together. It's almost like he's marching into the future, trusting in the process because his head's down. He's not even looking where he's going. He doesn't have to. He just knows he has to rebuild and recreate his life, and maybe the life of his family. You see the house in the distance, so there's a family there. There's a home there. There's a life there. So as we're in, the 12th house, the 11th house, the 9th house, all of that right now, we're thinking about reflecting on what's going on. We're letting go of things that no longer serve. We're reestablishing relationships maybe that we've been estranged from. We need to come back together now and go forward in shared purpose, because we don't know who's going to be here when all is said and done. We don't know if we're going to lose someone. If we do, that's going to be awful. With Senator Warren and her older brother. She wasn't there. The family was not there. If they're lucky, they've got Zoom hooked up, I guess. They're doing that now with iPads, and they're trying to contact family and having some kind of contact. All because we couldn't get past this. All because he wouldn't wake up. All because there's too much at stake here. Apparently, how much money, how much investment does he have in a negative outcome? Rumors are that he has that he allegedly has investments in hydroxychloroquine. So, our self-dealing guy is self-deals during a pandemic. And fortunately, the House of Representatives is investigating Jared Kushner now, and I think they need to. They've needed to investigate him the whole way. Something's wrong there. Something is so wrong here. But I think right now, the reading's telling us that it's time to move forward, but not in terms of opening things up, but in shared purpose. That's what we move forward with. Let's get behind this. Let's get past it. Let's move on and get ready for the next wave of it together, so that we're, checking in with one another, figuring out, okay, how did you do it? If you haven't talked to somebody in a while and we're able to go out, even if you still go out with masks and gloves, I'm going to, my husband's going to, we're in our 60s. I don't trust this. I don't trust anybody now, not after what I've witnessed. I don't know who's on the right side of this and who isn't. So, and I live in a conservative area. Well, there's a blend, but it's largely conservative. And it used to be a time when those would be the people I would expect to do the right thing, but I don't anymore. So I don't know what to say. We're really in uncharted waters, and we have to go through this together so that we get, no matter what we think, how all of it started, no matter what nefarious thing we think this might be, doesn't matter. We'll talk about that later. We'll see if that's true later. But right now, put that aside, hang on to it if you honestly feel that way, if you really believe that this is something, that's not just an accident. Keep it in mind, save it. Don't let it go, because you might be right. You might be wrong, but you might be right. They're saying you're wrong, but I don't know. People say all kinds of things, and we know that. Bottom line is, though, let's survive this together first. And then let's get down to brass tacks and figure out what this was. All right? To me, that just seems to be the only way we can go forward now. I think it's the most realistic. Forget about the haircut, or get some scissors and do it yourself. Forget about the dye job. Forget about, go and pick up paint with a mask and gloves on at your local hardware store, if they're still open, and they likely are. This is not difficult if we take care of ourselves in the process, So don't, and because that's what I've been hearing. I need paint. I need my hair done. I need, and biker dudes, get out of your leathers. Stop looking menacing at nurses. Don't stand 3 feet away from a nurse or whatever and look at her like you want to hurt her or something. I don't know if he said anything to her in that picture, but my God, man, grow up. Here we have Laguz. Laguz is what? Is it the 20th? No. 19th? No. 21st. So 3 energy, flowing in mind, body, spirit, alignment. But Laguz is essentially about flow. Empaths can use Laguz when you can chant Laguz when you're visualizing, drawing back your energies to your still point. We tend to hook into other people's energies, empaths do, and we notice them. And so we look, a connection gets created. At some point, you've got to dissolve them, because if you don't, then, it's a two-way street, all right? It's not just one-way connection, your own intention making it happen. It opens up a portal, basically, of energy between you and that other person to then exchange energy. And you have to be very careful, especially now with people being in varying levels of upset and being needy all the time, because we are. It's just the way it is right now. It's not a failure. It's just how it is. And so empaths are likely picking up a lot of stuff and feeling very exhausted from it. And I know I am. You have to shield. You have to practice this. You have to engage in this practice continually, at least I do, where you're bringing your awareness back to your still point, visualizing all of the energetic connections you've established, dissolving. If you need to hook them back up again, you can always do that by turning your attention to that person. But if you don't need it, then don't bring it in, because it's not helping you. You chant Laguz. Laguz is actually not just about flow, but magically it can be used as like a hook or a magical net to draw back energies. And so visualize the hook aspect of it to both, when you're dissolving energies, use the hook, use Laguz to chant it, and visualize the energies coming back, what's left of your own, back to you. Don't bring back anybody else's. So definitely see them dissolve before you do that. Put color in it, do whatever you want to understand what they are, but or don't. Just see it as energetic lines that you then, now some people call it cutting cords. I don't. I just think that feels harsh. I don't like the idea of cutting. I'd rather see them gently dissolve. I don't know. And then that way, it's a more, I just find it an easier experience. To me, cutting cords just seems abrupt. I don't know. Now for some, if you need to do it quickly, then you do it. You cut it. If you got an energy vampire coming in, do whatever you have to do. I mean, seriously, you don't need that. It's bad enough we've got one in the White House, okay? Because that's what he is. He's vampiric. He's got vampiric energy. The rallies, the repetitive speech, that's all mind control that energy vampires use, all right? When you're an alleged malignant narcissist, you're also then It stands to reason you are an energy vampire, all right? Your energy is vampiric, it's sticky, it's icky, it's oozy, and it will coat you in a way like no other. I can't listen to it. Not for long. Sometimes not at all. Can't listen to the voice. It's too much. But I will tell you that with energy vampires, they can't stop. They're predatory. They can't stop what they do. So for me, I not only see what he's doing, I feel the message behind it. I feel the emotion behind it. I feel the energy behind it. And I've been terrified the whole time. I went to bed before the election was called, several hours, because I knew what was going to happen and I couldn't take it. I didn't turn on the news for 3 months. I couldn't tweet. In fact, I couldn't even hardly, I could, eventually I could look at the headlines on my news aggregate reader on my computer, but I couldn't even open them. Couldn't open the articles and look at it because I knew what was befalling us. And so I'm not surprised at all at what's going on now. It's terrifying, but I'm not surprised. So use Laguz to help bring yourself back into balance when the flow of energy just gets to be way too much. And it's going to, this is something we're going to be dealing with for some time to come here. And as long as we're not on the same page, as long as, you've got people trying to stop others or demean others for listening to the experts, well, what is that? This just blows me away. I realized that I was always the good girl, who listened to the teacher and listened to the parents and all of that. I did that, for a variety of reasons, but I get it. Some of us are less inclined to do that, but my goodness, education's not our enemy, right? It just isn't. And I know that some people want to think that it is. Let's see, this is Acquisitio. So we're going to gain something today. I'm hoping it's awareness and understanding, but I don't know. We'll see. So geomancy is kind of cool. You can do it in a variety of ways. It's arranged in, there are four, I use 4 runes. They're arranged in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. Similar in presentation to the I Ching loosely. You can throw down a handful of whatever, peas, beans, whatever, lentils, stones, whatever, little pebbles. And then you count them. If you have an odd number there, then you put down a single dot. If you have an even number, you would put down 2 dots. Well, I just decided rather than doing that, I would have 4 runes, each one coded to the element, the particular element. So on one side, you'd have a single dot coded to fire, and on the other side, you would have 2. And so when I throw them down, that's what I do. Rather, if I did that here in the dark with a bunch of peas or beans or lentils or whatever, I'd never find them all. So for accuracy's sake, I just thought, well, why don't I just, because I make my own runes anyway, so I made a set of Hawthorne geomancy runes, and that's what I use. Anyway, there's 8 geomancy runes, 16 though with their complements. So you have the one and then the opposite. Here you have gain, which is acquisitio. Passive influences on fire and water, active influences on air and earth. So everything's balanced. It's in terms of gain turned upside down. You've got loss with a missio. But here you have acquisitio or gain. So I think that the gain that we're going to have probably is building on the energetic gateway from yesterday. And I think that any gain today is going to be in terms of perception and awareness and understanding, and in terms of our relationships with others. I think that this time of reflection, with things being in the 12th house, I think also in the 11th house, where we're looking at different, how our relationships with others are. Initially, earlier in the year, what I was seeing was more about, well, I think we saw the beginning, I should say, maybe, of rethinking where we're putting our energy in terms of our relationships. Some of it felt cause-based, and you were starting to see a reevaluation of that away from causes that don't reflect truth. And I think that it's real easy over this last few years to become caught up in the mind control of this guy that he's been exerting on people who wish to believe him, who want to believe that he's going to do the right thing. You know, that's the thing. You know, people on the other side of this equation that I'm at, they're not bad people. They just see it differently. And unfortunately, it's not helping. They're seeing something that isn't real. In other words, if you have a con man who's manipulating a group of people, he gets them on board with what he wants, but really it's just to serve his own needs. It isn't about helping them. Oh, he might tell them he's going to help them. And so they get on board thinking, you know, this and that. But then we have a pandemic and suddenly he's not their guy. And for some weird reason, he's still convincing them that he is. But slowly we're seeing people fall away, as during this time where we're reflecting on our relationships and reflecting on what the truth actually is. Because as we're going along, you know, you can't ignore the numbers. You can't, and no, they're not making them up. I just saw a picture of, where were they taking it to? A morgue, the coroner's office in some place in Pennsylvania. They had bodies in body bags in the back of a pickup truck. They're unloading them. They're in white body bags. And, I mean, I don't even know how many were in there. It's a different, you can't ignore this. And if it doesn't awaken compassion in you, then just step back. Because we don't need that now. I don't know. I think that's it. I don't think I can really add anymore. I don't think we need another card. I really think that we are seeing a shift in perception right now, understanding that things are not what they seem and that they really are bad. And we need to wake up to that, and we need to do whatever we can from this point forward. It's not too late. It's not too late to move forward and share purpose with each other and understand that if we're going to survive this, we have to survive it together. Not having some biker dudes in a standoff with some nurse who's just standing out there in front of her hospital in her own form of protest, saying nothing, not approaching anyone, staying on next to her building. As a biker dude comes up who's probably this much taller than she is. I mean, she looks like she's maybe 110 pounds soaking wet. Just a little bit of a thing. But she's fierce and powerful. And she's speaking truth to the masses and saying, I'm here for you. What are you doing? Don't you know what we're doing in here? Don't you know that we're saving people here? Or we're not? Because we can't? Because your guy won't give us the stuff to do it with? This is where we are, folks. And fortunately, most of us are on the right side of this. So let's send good thoughts to those who aren't, that are still confused about this. Collectively get together, say noon today or say 6 p.m. today, wherever we are, and come together in meditation and, you know, make a day of it, or make a habit of it. Just like everyone's coming out in New York City at 7 p.m. and clapping and screaming, thank you, and all of that. Maybe we come together in a meditation. Make it a rolling meditation. If everybody does it at 6 p.m. instead of exactly at the same time, you're going to have it roll across the world. And just express the thought that we all come together in truth and love and harmony, and that we survive together. And with luck, it will have an effect. If spirit has anything to do with it, if our souls have anything to say about it, it will. We need to align together. It's what was always meant to be. We were never meant to be at odds with one another. We've always been one. Even in this expression here, it might seem individuated, because it is, but it's only to gain experience. It was never to be apart. So, the alone together is true. You know, we are together in this. we just all need to remember that. So thank you so much for coming by this week. I won't be back tomorrow. I won't be back until Monday. I just do this 4 days a week. I do a little checking in video though. When I write something, I do a check-in video. I may just do it. I've been saying I'm going to. Sometimes my weekends get away from me though, because I get working outside in the garden and whatnot right now, and just trying to take care of stuff. But we do need to check in, and we need to check in with one another. So boys, give us a call, please. We haven't heard from you in a while, and that's not okay. So please call home, and or our daughters-in-law, you can call us and check in, and just make sure we're doing okay. We'll make sure you're doing okay. If you need anything, just let us know, and we'll do what we can to help you. Even though we're at a bit of a distance from one another, we're still in the same state. We can get there, and we can do it safely. So whatever you need, we're your parents, and we're there. So in any event, stay safe, stay home, stay protected if you have to go out, and stay alive. We need everyone. Everyone is important. Everyone matters. So come back on Monday. Check out the blog over at Stepping Aside. I'm steppingaside.com. Links are below the video. I have a Patreon account. If you want to go over there and support me there, that'd be awesome. I'd love you to do that. It's all donation. I don't have any tiers set up. So even just $1 a month is nice. And so also I'm writing over on Medium. You can check me out over there. I just did a pretty big 6-card Thoth Tarot reading over there. Published it last night on the 4/22/22 gateway. And so check all that out and come back again on Monday. Click subscribe here. I'd love you to do that, and stay safe again on this next 3 days that we have off, and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.